Hi, welcome to the quiz. You will be presented with multiple choice questions, each displayed on screen for a short time. Please make sure to attempt answering all the questions. Quizzes help us to reinforce our knowledge, identify areas where we need to focus more, and improve our overall performance. Taking quizzes can also help to increase retention and make the learning process more engaging and enjoyable. With that out of the way, you can answer along on quizalto.com. The exact URL of this quiz will be in the notes down below. Let's get started. Good luck. What is the first step in setting up an AWS IoT one-click device? Configuring a VPC. Registering the device in the AWS IoT one-click console. Programming the device firmware. Creating an S3 bucket. What is required to trigger a Lambda function using AWS IoT one-click? A registered AWS IoT one-click device. An IAM role with admin privileges. A dedicated EC2 instance. A detailed JSON configuration file. Can AWS IoT one-click devices be used in multiple projects? No, each device can only be associated with one project. Only if they are configured with multiple firmware versions. Yes, devices can be shared across multiple projects. Only with additional permissions. What should you do if an AWS IoT one-click device stops working? Check the AWS IoT one-click console for errors. Reboot the AWS IoT core service. Update the device firmware. Contact AWS support immediately. What role does AWS IoT Core play in AWS IoT one-click? It stores data collected from IoT devices. It manages the physical devices. It provides a development environment for IoT applications. It handles the communication between devices and AWS services. What is a key consideration when deploying AWS IoT one-click devices in remote locations? Configuring VPN access. Ensuring reliable internet connectivity. Deploying on-premise servers. Having local data storage. Which type of AWS account is required to use AWS IoT one-click? A business account only. Any AWS account with IoT permissions. A free tier account only. A developer account only. What is the purpose of a project in AWS IoT one-click? To group devices and associate them with Lambda functions. To configure device security settings. To manage user access and permissions. To store data collected from devices. Is there a limit to the number of devices you can add to an AWS IoT one-click project? Yes, there is a limit of 100 devices per project. No, you can add unlimited devices. Yes, you can only add up to 10 devices. Yes, but the limit depends on your AWS account settings. What is a primary benefit of using AWS IoT one-click? Advanced device management capabilities. In-depth analysis of IoT data. Quick deployment of IoT solutions with minimal setup. Extensive customization options for device firmware. What is a key feature of AWS IoT one-click buttons? They support custom firmware development. They have built-in temperature sensors. They can trigger AWS Lambda functions with a single click. They can connect to multiple AWS accounts simultaneously. What kind of applications is AWS IoT one-click most suited for? Machine learning applications. Real-time data streaming. Simple automation tasks. Complex data processing. Can you set up AWS IoT one-click without programming knowledge? Only if you have experience with embedded systems. No, it requires extensive coding experience. Yes, it is designed for simplicity and ease of use. Only with the help of professional services. What action can be triggered by AWS IoT one-click devices besides invoking Lambda functions? Starting EC2 instances. Sending SNS notifications. Running Athena queries. Uploading files to S3. What information is required to associate a device with a project in AWS IoT one-click? The device MAC address and IP address. The device firmware version. The device serial number and model. The device ID and Lambda function ARN. What is the AWS IoT one-click mobile app used for? Managing and monitoring IoT one-click devices. Creating CloudFormation stacks. Developing Lambda functions. Setting up VPC configurations. What is one of the main advantages of using AWS IoT one-click? Simplified setup and integration with AWS services. Extensive customization of device firmware. High computational power for data processing. Large-scale data storage capabilities. What AWS feature ensures secure communication for IoT one-click devices? Quantum cryptography. Multi-factor authentication. Blockchain verification. End-to-end encryption. How do you ensure that an AWS IoT one-click device is working properly? By checking the device's firmware version. By rebooting the device regularly. By running a diagnostic Lambda function. By testing it in the AWS IoT one-click console. What type of devices can be used with AWS IoT one-click? Only Amazon Echo devices. Any device running an embedded operating system. Simple devices like buttons that trigger predefined actions. Complex sensors requiring detailed configuration. What is AWS IoT one-click primarily used for? To manage IoT device fleets at scale. To deploy complex IoT applications. To enable devices to trigger AWS Lambda functions with a single click. To create IoT dashboards. What kind of feedback can AWS IoT one-click devices provide? User interaction history. Device status and activity logs. Detailed performance metrics. Real-time data analysis. Can AWS IoT one-click be used with third-party devices? Yes, if they are compatible and registered in the console. No, only AWS devices are supported. Only through custom integrations. Only with special adapters. How does AWS IoT one-click simplify IoT deployments? By managing data storage and analysis. By offering a full-fledged development environment. By allowing complex device programming. By providing pre-configured devices that can trigger Lambda functions. How do you create a project in AWS IoT one-click? By writing a CloudFormation template. By configuring an elastic beanstalk environment. By using the AWS IoT one-click console. By deploying a Docker container. And that's a wrap. Thanks to everyone who participated. Remember, you can answer along on quizalto.com, where you can keep track of your progress and find much more quizzes. We hope you had a fun and challenging time. Until next time. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more. Hit the bell icon to be notified as soon as we upload. Please leave a comment if you have any thoughts or suggestions, and if you think this video is worth sharing with someone who could benefit from it, please forward a link to them. See you next time. Thanks for watching.